Hello and welcome to Business Strategy Online. My name is Matt and I'm joined by my associates Kanishta, Linges and Winnie through the powers of the internet. And we are The Saints, a business strategy advisory group showing you the ins and outs of business strategy. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the professional services firm GHD. You may not have heard of GHD before, so a little background check for you all. GHD is a professional services firm, but the way we like to define it is they're an engineering, architecture and environmental consultancy company. They were founded in 1928 by Gordon Gutteridge and based in Melbourne, Australia, initially focused on water and storage across Australia. Since then, they have expanded internationally and interact in the water, energy and resources, environment, property and building, and transportation markets. With such enormous expansion over the years, how successful really is GHD and how effective is their business strategy? Let's think of this in terms of competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is when a firm implements a strategy that creates superior value for customers and its competitors are unable to duplicate or find it too costly or inefficient to imitate. Does this sound like something GHD is able to achieve? Let's find out. So in this episode, we're going to be looking at four main discussion points. 1, does GHD have a sustainable competitive advantage? 2, what are the principal economic and industry characteristics in which GHD operate? 3, we're going to be looking at a SWOT analysis of GHD. And 4, what is GHD's international strategy? So we've touched on competitive advantage already. Let's see what Kanishta has to say about GHD in terms of sustainable competitive advantage.
Now that we know what a competitive advantage is, it's time to learn how we're going to use it. In order to gain a competitive advantage, we need to make use of our resources. Resources are inputs into a firm's production process. In terms of GHD, this resource is acknowledging the pressure of change within any industry and being sensible enough to equip themselves with the knowledge and skills to mitigate any potential risk. And what's the point of having resources if we're not going to use them? So being able to use the resource in an integrative manner is known as a capability. And for GHD, this would be their Innovation Zone project, handing the baton, and their training methods. Through these programs, not only has GHD saved hundreds and thousands per year, but also maintained the knowledge and skill within the firm. Apart from that, by having an independent innovation advisory group, GHD was able to maintain the mutual respect between the employees while simultaneously making improvements for the firm. In accordance to the resource-based view, capabilities must be valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable in order to be considered as a core competency and in turn a potential source of competitive advantage. So let's evaluate the 4 criteria. First of all, valuable means it should be able to help a firm neutralize threat or exploit opportunities. Instead of only giving you a GHD example, I'm also going to be talking about McDonald's here so that you can sort of relate the two and see how it actually works in the real world. So, what is valuable for McDonald's? McDonald's has been around for a long enough time and acquired a large market share, which makes their brand name very valuable. In terms of GHD, this would mean exploiting opportunities by getting the input from their employees and allowing other employees to collaborate and build on it. Having various points of view from all levels of employees will help mitigate most issues because the staff on the lower ground level will know the issues as they're happening and be able to come up with solutions faster than the top level management would. Furthermore, through the Pass the Baton program, GHD has been able to maintain the intelligence and skill within the firm. The next criteria is rare. Rare means not possessed by many others. Now, in terms of McDonald's, rare would be thinking of the golden arches. Now, every time you see that M, what's the first thing that comes to your head? Ooh, McDonald's is nearby, right? Or also the phrase, I'm loving it. Wouldn't you think of McDonald's straight away? It's not that other fast food companies don't have slogans and their brand theme as well, but the thing is it's not as catchy. So for example, what is Burger King's slogan? You probably have to search it up or think about it. It's not something that comes to you straight away like, I'm loving it. So in terms of GHD, this would mean GHD has established the company for many, many years, which makes it ahead of its time in terms of its management capabilities. Now the third criteria is inimitable. This means it is hard to copy. What is hard to copy about McDonald's? They are protected by trademark and patent laws. So things like the secret Big Mac sauce or a McFlurry or a McChicken you can only get at McDonald's. In terms of GHD, it would be their historical value, in terms of the brand name, and valuable organizational culture. In terms of social complexity, they have a strong interpersonal relationship between managers, employees, and customers. Now, the last criteria, not the least, is non-substitutable, which means what they do cannot be done in another way. So, back again to McDonald's, McChicken, McFlurry, Big Mac, secret sauce, you can't get it anywhere else. And if that's what you're craving, then McDonald's is where you're going to go. In terms of GHD, I do believe that it is substitutable. Firm-specific knowledge and trust-based working relationships between managers and non-managerial personnel are examples of capabilities that are difficult to identify and for which finding a substitute is challenging, which means it is not impossible, but could be fatal to the firm if a different company comes up with something similar. In conclusion, GHD managed to successfully combine their resources and capabilities to create a competitive advantage for the firm. This is exemplified through their achievement of a 600% growth over a period of 30 years and having a retention rate of 88%. However, over time, competitors will be able to duplicate the benefits of their value-creating strategy. Although at a high cost, if the returns are worth it, I am fairly sure that other firms will invest. With this being said, I do not think GHD has a sustainable source of competitive advantage.
Now, moving on to the second discussion point, Linges is going to tell us about the economic and industry characteristics in which GHD operate.
Let us begin by looking at question 2 as a question with two parts to it. Principal economic characteristics and industry characteristics in which the GHD operate. Now, GHD, as mentioned earlier, does a fair bit of everything. They take up contracts in relation to property, transport, water, as well as the environment. One example would be when Qatar Airways at Doha Airport wanted a 2-story extension of their premises, in which GHD provided architectural and engineering design services as well as contract administration and project management services. Furthermore, they are also a consultant firm who do consultations for major projects. Now, when it comes to economic characteristics, there are a few general terms that might come across to our minds such as money supply, employability opportunities, price and profitability, and tax. So, GHD, where do they get their money supply from? Like most firms, majority of the money comes from the revenue they earn taking up projects. They are a 100% employee-owned company, and they're also privatized. Ian Shepherd, the current CEO of the company, has went on to state that the shareholders of the company are the employees themselves. This is a prominent example of the pride GHD takes into their workforce. GHD, employing approximately 8,500 people across its offices worldwide, does have a fairly big workforce. Now, when it comes to industry characteristics, the first model that actually comes to our minds would be Michael Porter's Competitive 5. So, Michael Porter's Competitive 5 lists down 5 points, of which mainly helps us to determine the intensity of the industry, but it also helps us to look at the characteristics in which GHD operates in. First point being the risk of entry by potential competitors. This of course includes potential competitors to GHD, as well as the brand loyalty of the company and the government regulations that may affect the company. So looking at one point such as brand loyalty, does GHD have loyal customers, and has it built itself an outstanding image that no other company can replace? We won't know for sure, but GHD's constant growth sure does point us in the direction that GHD has a wide number of clients. A company with a prominent brand loyalty would of course be Apple or Samsung, with a wide client database and people finding it hard to leave from this product and move on to other products such as Sony, less popular brands maybe such as Nokia, and so on. Now, moving on to the second point, let us take a look at the intensity of rivalry among competitors. This leads us to compare prices, services offered, differentiation among the firms, and exit barriers. With regards to the price and services, companies may differ vastly, but however, GHD's expertise in various fields such as human health risk assessment, in which GHD claims to be an expert in, would of course give it an advantage. The third and fourth point will be the bargaining power of suppliers and the bargaining power of buyers. This of course refers to the suppliers GHD deals with, which probably would be a very long list considering they do a bit of everything, and the buyers being GHD's client. Is GHD replaceable and could they be seen as a substitute? Are their clients loyal towards the firm? So these are just some of the factors we have to take into consideration. The last point being the threat of substitute products. GHD in particular does not make a particular product, but instead offers a variety of services. Threats faced by GHD, however, may include future competitors, who may very well be the new experts in a particular field of which GHD is currently of. There are, however, several limitations with regards to defining the economic and industry characteristics. An industry at any point in time may experience a boom such as the mining boom in Australia, which might not necessarily last for long. This therefore might cause for incorrect judgments with regards to the characteristics of the industry. The life cycle of the company as well may affect the defining characteristics, considering the fact that an organization may very well be at the most matured or at the least matured stage in its life and may not yet be in a stable position to be judged. So, in conclusion, GHD operates in a rather large industry with a broad characteristics range. We can conclude that the industry is rather well structured, competitive, and has high exit barriers, considering the equipment purchased by the firms will add up to a lot of money, all of which making it harder to exit. The industry requires firms to depend on their expertise, and big firms such as GHD spend a fair amount of time and effort into building their brand image, as well as staying afloat in the industry. We can also conclude in relation to the economic characteristics that GHD takes pride in its employees and considers employees a big reason for their success and growth.
Now I'm going to do a brief assessment of GHD's internal and external environments to determine its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In other words, a SWOT analysis. This is essentially to develop business strategy as it ensures a fit between the external situations GHD faces and its own internal characteristics. So first of all, let's look at GHD's strengths. Number one, their innovation resources, which are represented through the innovation zone, aimed at identifying and delivering new ideas for internal process development and exploiting external market opportunities. Number two, their human resources. They have 6,500 employees across 5 continents, which is basically a global pool of highly skilled individuals. Number three, their technical skills they possess, particularly their employees who are highly skilled and admittedly a reason the company has thrived in such a competitive market. And four, their approach to training, which is based on a business school which is standardized across all business units to ensure high technical skills, management skills, and leadership and personal development. And what are the opportunities available that GHD could use such strengths towards? One, the fact that the developing countries such as Mexico and Brazil present opportunities to GHD to implement greater infrastructure due to the demand there. Number two, the fact that the population is growing and there is always a demand for greater infrastructure. And three, there is a growing concern for environmental preservation, which GHD can capitalize on since they offer environmental services such as forestry management and waste management, among other things. However, on the contrary, GHD's weaknesses are: one, their marketing is rather lackluster. Their brand awareness is low. However, this could be influenced by the fact that the industry is not highly regarded by the public. GHD as a brand is strongly linked to the hair straighteners offered by GHD in the UK. And even I know that, and I definitely don't straighten my hair. Number two, the imitable management style, which is nothing revolutionary and can easily be imitated by competitors if it isn't already been already. And number three, their broad operations and possible lack of vision. Due to the fact that GHD operates internationally and employs 6,500 employees, it's hard to believe that absolutely everyone is working coherently towards a collective goal. And there are threats that affect the operations of GHD also. Firstly, high levels of competition and the bargaining power of buyers, such as governments who have the options of competitors to choose from. Expanding upon this is the threat of bribery when competing for tenders in foreign countries, where bribes may be customary to doing business. Also, policy development is another threat that may affect the way GHD operates. all things that GHD has little to no control over, but can hopefully utilise its strengths to overcome. Okay, now we're going to go to Winnie for the final discussion point.
So here we come to the last question. What is GHD international strategy? Before answering the question, let's talk about why companies go international. Overseas operations are often attractive to the organization which aims in growing the business. In general, there are three types of motives for business to go global. The intrinsic motive, like finding potential customers in other nations and looking for easier way to access raw materials. Mixed motive, like reducing the reliance on local market and to follow the client trends. And extrinsic motives, which aims in gaining extra bargaining power or simply because the shareholder wants the company to expand. Regardless the reason, company needs an international strategy to help diversifying the business when searching for a new market abroad. So international strategy refers to a range of options for operating outside the organization's country of origin. And what strategy the company should employ depends on the level of needs and for global integration and for the local responses of the particular business. And there are three types of international strategy. The first one is the localization. When the organization recognizes there are differences between the market it enters and the normal practice it has in the home country, the company may need to provide products and services tailored to the local market in order to compete. Take a look at KFCs. The KFC in Australia only serves burgers, rolls, and two types of chicken. But in Hong Kong, the KFC there sells rice and various types of flavored chickens. However, this strategy usually costs more as it doesn't allow the development of economic of scales, and the knowledge the local business unit gains can't 100% share and apply to the others because of the social-cultural difference and the other variation between regions. The second one is the global strategy. When the company uses global strategy, it means it emphasizes the economic of scales by employing the same basic competitive approach regardless the region it operates, and offers standardized product and service across the world. Like Evian, for example, they sell exactly the same type of water and the package design in Australia, US, and Malaysia. The reason why the GHD not adopting this strategy is due to the significant difference between countries. For example, you can't expect the engineers will apply the same building method in France and in Japan, where earthquakes occur quite often there. So the last one, and also the one GHD is applying, is the transnational strategy. This strategy is for those organizations seek to achieve global efficiency and local responsiveness. It requires both global coordination and control and local flexibility. Transnational strategy is a more complex strategy than the others. Nevertheless, the numbers of global competitors is increasing. The intense competition pressures the companies to reduce costs, and at the same time, they need to provide customized products and services to fulfill the customer needs and wants to be special or to be differentiated. So for GHD, it has a centralized management and R&D team in Australia, but at the same time, it gives resources and decision-making power to the offshore branches so they can conduct R&D and provide localized service, and to share the results with the other members. For instance, when Dubai offered a bid to ask engineering company in Dubai to give advice on constructing a unique landmark, instead of doing the research and develop the project by GHD engineers located in Dubai themselves, the other branches came together and shared the knowledge and information they had in order to tackle problems. And finally, give out the project Palm Island to the Dubai and won the bid. The quality and quantity of information and knowledge GHD has turns into a type of competitive advantage for GHD to compete over the other competitors. So to answer what is GHD international strategy, my answer would be transnational.
To wrap matters up, we now have an understanding of GHD's stance on sustainable competitive advantage, the economic and industry characteristics in which GHD operate, the internal and external forces that influence their operations, and GHD's international strategy. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Business Strategy Online, and we'll see you next time.